Luna here, and welcome to another episode of That Crypto Hustle. I'm here with Sean Donato from Optitoken. How's it going, Sean?
Good, thank you. Hi, Luna.
Good.
How are you?
Good. So we've been chatting amongst ourselves about Ethereum prices lately. Specifically, I've been interested to kind of understand what's going to happen because of the Constantinople fork, which was scheduled sometime in January, but it's been delayed till end of February. And so from my understanding, individuals are not going to get additional coins, Ethereum coin that is, which is potentially why as well it hasn't really driven the price up. And it seems like it's more sort of helping as far as the gas metering and efficiencies within the Ethereum platform. So I'm not enough of a tech developer to really understand everything that's implied, but it seems like they had some issues, vulnerability, which is why they didn't launch in January, and they've had to push it to February. So interestingly enough,
You just said something key there. You said that people won't get extra coins.
Yeah, they won't. No.
Well, here's the thing. That's not something that like Ethereum really has a choice in, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a kind of hard fork where there's like a hard fork that's just for purposes like this, because they need to split the chain and kind of redo it, or change some things on it really fundamentally and technically that they can't do on the current chain. But that being said, somebody, and where there's money to be made, there probably will be, when there's money to be made, there probably will be someone trying to make it. So somebody could come in and say, hey, we don't like what you've done. We're going to continue on with the previous chain. So, yeah, in that case, there would be a contentious hard fork, as far as I understand with hard forks. Maybe we can bring something up on it.
Yeah, so there's an interesting article that I sent your way, which essentially and maybe we can bring that up, which was doing a price analysis and trying to understand whether or not Ethereum's going to break back at 120. And I sent that to Sean, and he was like, well, they're looking at the wrong thing. So, I'd love for you to kind of help us figure out what are some of the things to look for when we're looking at these technical analyses online to understand whether or not they're providing us with the right kind of information.
I know. You sent something. I just did the headline, and it just looked really vague and not. It's really whoever wrote it is I don't even know what they're talking about. They're silly. But it's on my phone. Let me just look it on my phone real quick.
Yeah.
Maybe do you want to bring it up on your screen?
I can't do that.
It was on News Bitcoin.
Yeah, so essentially, it was on News Bitcoin. Ethereum price analysis. Ethereum remains a sell until it breaks at 120. Ethereum price tested the 119, 120 resistance area and failed to gain strength against the US dollar. There's a short-term declining channel formed with resistance near 118 on the hourly chart. The pair is currently at risk and more losses as long as it's trading below 118 and 120 hurdles. Ethereum price fell to stay in the positive zone against the US dollar and Bitcoin. Ethereum USD trimmed most its gain, and it's likely heading towards the 114 support level. So that's the gist of the article.
Sounds like the stuff I tweet. I was talking about you remember I was just talking about 114 4 or 5 days ago. People tweet this shit out later on, I swear. But
which is why you should join Sean's
And he's even
Telegram.
using the wording I use. I use the word hurdle. Don't I always use that?
Yeah, you do. This is why you have to follow Optitoken and Sean's Telegram group.
I got the Ethereum chart, and so the thing is like 120 in itself isn't really, the reason why I think it's silly is because 120 itself isn't really that significant. It's not some kind of like, I don't even really think it's emotional. It's not even emotional. I mean, we could talk about 100 being emotional level, and you could even say 150. I mean, but 120 is not emotional level. It's like nothing. So yesterday, I'm sorry. See.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
So let's share the screen.
Oh, okay. Hold on one second.
Oops.
I'm not trying to sound like a prick either. I'm just saying, like,
No,
I just think it's like, I just think it's like really like some of the like analysis and stuff is just, it's like, it shouldn't be like publicized on like these Bitcoins they have like a lot of web traffic and share, and actually the owners are pretty cool. They're nice guys, like I don't really know much about them more than that, but I just know they're nice guys. And yeah, I'm surprised they have whoever that is on there doing that. So today is the 24th of January. Yesterday was 23rd. Well, the high was 121.29.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do. Where are you?
See my screen?
Yeah, hold on. Let me do full screen. Yep.
And we're really zoomed out here, and that's because I want to show you some other things. But we'll zoom in a bit. But as you can see the date part right, here. And so you can see when we go to the January 23rd, and then we look up here at the high. This right here, this H is the high.
Mm-hmm.
So today the high was 119.70. Okay. And then yesterday we hit 121.29. So like I guess you could say today, that's the intraday high is close to it. But just because we could easily break above back to where we hit. We could easily go back up around 121, 122, and still not break above. There's nothing significant about that level. I see no setup trend levels there or anything. Let's see if maybe there's at least some moving average stuff there. 122 has the 50-day. Mm-hmm. Moving average. I guess you could say 122 is semi-relevant, seeing that we did fail to break above it the other day. But actually, no. The day we were at 122.12, the 50-day moving average was at 121.86. So they did break above. And like I say with moving averages a lot, is they're not exact. And a lot of people use them exact, and I just personally disagree. Because it's an average, so I think that you have to include like a margin of error, and I think that could be pretty wide actually, because this blue line is the 50-day moving average. Okay, you see the blue line?
Yeah.
So as you can see,
well, it's declining. That's for sure.
Yeah. Why it smooths out. What it does is it smooths out, all this noise, jaggedy. So it is significant because as you can see, we broke here really strongly, and we continued above. Looks like we caught some resistance here. For whatever reason, it might not even have much to do with that. It's just could have just kind of been a false breakout. 2017 and 2018 and 2019 so far. It's just been shit. So I wouldn't overthink this too much. This move right here, but so yeah, you can see it's relevant. Above it, there's a tendency to be bullish. Mm-hmm. You could argue, and then below it, there's a tendency to be bearish. Here, we broke above barely. But then closed back below it, and here we tested it again, and no dice. Also, when we hover real close and have a lot of trouble with it, like here, you can see that there's a tendency just to drop back down. Mm-hmm. That being said, we are doing that right now. So we broke above it again, and like I said, it's not like the alpha and the omega. And this moving average, the brown one, which I believe is the 200-day. No, it's the 128-day moving average. Well, it did give us problems here. This is still problematic. This is a margin error, I would argue, and it is problematic. And maybe that's part of the reason why we didn't really break more farther above. This was kind of when the all the kind of the rumors and energy from the hard fork was kind of coming into play, and the price really recovered sharply. But like you said too, this isn't it's supposed to be a consensus hard fork, meaning it's supposed to it's not supposed to create new coins. But I will strongly argue, and I'll make a prediction right here, that there will be new coins.
That there will be what?
There will be new coins. You will have coins. Okay, so
what do you mean by that?
Do you remember when?
Yeah.
Because there'll be some group who will come and say, we don't like what's happening. Well, it doesn't matter if they like it or not. They'll say they don't like what's happening with the direction ETH is going, and they believe it should continue on as is and do something else. So, you will have, they're forking the chains at the same spot. You will actually have coins. And there'll be some shit exchange that will honor it. And, there'll be one or two exchanges that will honor it and say, yeah, we are going to support the so-and-so fork. And, for every ETH you have, you'll have one of these, whatever, this other, project's idea, basically, where it should go. You'll see. I mean, we'll talk about this in a future show.
But really, because from my understanding of this actual fork is that it has more to do with efficiencies, and that anything else that after that is going to be completely obsolete. Because essentially, it's going to help, resolve one part of the problem of scalability, as far as the amount of gas required to, what's it called? To be able to process a coin, is my understanding.
To make a transaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't, like I said, I'm guilty of not even really looking into what Constantinople is in full. It's just I've been, I'm slacking. That's a fundamental thing I should be looking at and watching, because I like Ethereum. I didn't used to like it when I was younger, but it's here, man. It has a ton of development. I think, I see no problem with Vitalik. I think he seems like a really solid dude. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion of him.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
It's an opinion,
yeah.
Not a fact. But so I'm not a hater on Ethereum. So I think if any, they're the underdog to Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So a coin that could do really good, besides Bitcoin, it's a really it's probably the safest bet would be probably Ethereum. Bitcoin's first to market. Ethereum, I guess, would kind of claim that second to market type thing. And you know what I'm talking about. It's like the Uber and the Lyft comparison. I agree with that. I do.
Oh, can you tell us about that again? For some of the fucks who didn't get to watch that show. It was one of our previous episodes. So essentially, Uber did a really great job as far as marketing, but didn't necessarily have as strong as a product as Lyft, right? And Lyft is a stronger product in itself, because I think Lyft, when they came out, they already had the pooling functionality, meaning that you can share a ride with multiple individuals. However, they took their time as far as rolling it out. And Uber was really proactive, and also, I guess getting into trouble as well with some governments in places where it's completely, it's, what's it called? It's not allowed. Like in China, you don't have Uber.
Yeah, and it's definitely a generous example, but nonetheless, I think it's a good example, and it's one that can help people kind of,
Yeah, so essentially
potentials, that there is there.
Yeah, so essentially the example was that Ethereum is kind of like an Uber, in the sense that it's done a really great job being proactive and in the press, and as well as having different conferences like Consensus, just like really pushing hard for that agenda, versus Lyft would be Bitcoin, who's been around for a while, and yeah, I guess it's just like, even though it's the one coin that everyone knows about, I guess perhaps as well because it has like multiple individuals, you're kind of at the forefront of Bitcoin. Do you think that's the reason why as well it's not as proactive as far as pushing the agenda?
No, I think they're just both where they're supposed to be right now. And, there's going to be haters on everything. And, one was done with an ICO, and it will have that scar. It'll carry that, it'll carry that scar around probably forever, or as long as it's, in existence or relevant. The other one technically didn't, although, you can almost argue that, I guess this isn't really a good argument, but, so Satoshi has a ton of Bitcoin, but he did mine them.
By the way, since you're talking, let's see you. We're still on the chart.
Alright. Yeah. I want to show you a bunch of stuff on this chart. It'll really help people. I hope some people watch this.
Alright, so you were saying Satoshi?
Well, he has a ton of Bitcoin. I think I don't remember if it's 3,800 or 38,000 or something crazy. I don't. That's just the number that comes in my head. Let me look it up real quick. I was way off. It says he has potentially 980,000 Bitcoins.
Wow.
It's almost freaking a million, dude. So okay, are we by any chance able to say that? Okay, so, alright, let's say that when Vitalik and them created Ethereum, then instead of pre-mining it, or, having theirs pre-mined, instead they just had a really easy way to accumulate a lot. Would that be taken into consideration when people talk about, they had an ICO and it's, this and that? I'm not even 100% sure how they acquired it. They may have, that was not apparent to me. My thinking is the team, there was a team percentage and the founder is going to get, obviously, the lion's share of that. So, people still say, well, it was unfairly how they got it. They had an unfair advantage. I think the only difference would be is that, when Bitcoin started, it was, there was really no large valuation. No one could really, most people didn't know it was going to be as big as it is now. So him mining a bunch early on and being able to accumulate 980,000 fairly easily, was still kind of it wasn't a for sure thing he was going to be, make all this money off it. With Ethereum, maybe a bit so more, it's kind of hey, this is going to be, look what Bitcoin did. So if I can accumulate a lot of Ethereum at the beginning, then I too will, be insanely rich. But do you understand what I'm trying to say? Is there's unfair advantages for all these founders.
There's unfair advantages. Yes, agreed. Okay.
So perhaps, maybe somebody had to mine it. I guess somebody had to mine it first. And so it's really easy not to say that Satoshi has had some agenda, making a lot of money too. But there's also an argument that hey, maybe he's hey, I'm creating this really cool money, but also I just so happens I'm probably the only one who's going to mine it first, or one of the few people, and I'm going to have a ton of it because of this. So you could argue that that's kind of unfair as well. That's all I'm saying.
Sean, just one minor thing. Your screen is I think because your computer's on your lap.
Was it shaking?
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I am at a co-working space, and I found a nice little corner that was a little more quiet, so I think
it's.
But that
are
that
you
meant
sure?
I had to put it on my lap.
It's a party space. It sounds like there's a party up in there.
There's music. It's outside. It's nice out. It was really quiet inside. in co-working space, I kind of feel like guilty for whatever I'm here. But it is, yeah, man. Co-working spaces are awesome. They're like party spaces these days.
Yeah, they are. Like
I don't really party though.
No, you go to co-working spaces. That's where you party.
No.
Exactly.
Can I share my screen again? I want to go back to Ethereum real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about predictions. Like, when do you think we're going to reach a place where it'll be at the 200, 300 margin?
No clue. I'm really not. I'm in no way a specialist of telling a predicted time, and it's not something I have been able to really do. But I can usually look at something and say it's oversold or overbought, or I can look at technicals and see what's relevant and what isn't. That's something that I think I'm pretty good at. So 120 is absolutely irrelevant. However, there are relevant things we can look at right here for clarification. So something that seems to be relevant. So we have these things where there's a testing, like I was just talking about here, and we have one here.
That was July and April.
I see one difference in these crossovers, okay? And that is that in this crossover, it went up sharply, and so much so that you see this small gray line?
Yes.
That's a moving average, just a 20-day. The 20-day crossed back up over the 50-day, okay? And we had a nice bullish run. I mean, whether it wasn't super long-lived, but it certainly was, that's parabolic as hell. That's a huge move. So that is something. Now here, the test before. Notice the 20-day did not cross over. It failed to cross over. And in failing to do so,
it just went down.
Right. So, more so than looking at, just like, that's basically all what I'm saying is this is a tool we can look at. We can say, hey, that looks relevant. Look at here again. It happened again. So that, that immediately tells me this has relevance. Well, where are they now? It looks like the 20 is actually above the 50. That is good. Now, it also looks like it's going, the 50 lies right in here. Now that I've showed you that, let me zoom in, okay? So now, yes, the 20 has broken the 50 here. This is good. This candle right here was a great candle. Unfortunately, it meant some, maybe some resistance can really sit, the margin of error I think is really big with moving averages. So, but they're still hugely helpful and relevant, and one of the simplest and most useful tools someone can use. So we are above. We are above. Now, the thing is, they look like they want to come across again and back down. So, what that does tell us is that Ethereum needs to get shit together fast. Maybe this moving average comes and kind of bounces off, and like this, and kind of bounces off the other one, and then we can go for a move up. So I would say that this is the 20-day. They're closing in pretty fast. It looks like they might close in somewhere around the end of the month. Unless a big drop down happens, they would close faster. But if it's still kind of sideways, then it would, by near the end of the month, around here, they would, either bounce off each other or cross again. If the 20-day crosses back under near the end of the month, that's going to be pretty bearish. Or it'll just signal that some bearish stuff already happened. So if that helps with time, that is something we can look at and say, yeah, Ethereum needs to get its shit together and fast. Now, if it breaks back above 120, that doesn't really help us enough. Because like we said, it just was above 120 the other day. That's not enough. We're going to need it to go up a little higher. The number I had was 128. That's a level I would like to see it cross and hold. And if it can do so, I believe that first let's get over this. Let's get over the 50-day moving average. Let's get back over. And then let's try to get up. Let's get a nice candle, some nice volume to support us above 128. And then I would say that we actually may be in for a reversal of fortune. Let me see where I got 128 from, because I did find it some places. Use a 4-hour chart.
Are you using DIV as well for Ethereum?
Using what?
DIV?
Oh, that DVDI thing?
Yeah, DVDI.
Well, the thing is that was only giving me indicators on the hour chart that I was able to use. But I do have it out. I should have it. Yeah, there it is. I have nothing bullish here. And I don't really have a huge... Like, the way I use it, I don't really have a huge bearish indicator either. But I would say that I would say momentum's still on the bear side. And the reason being is until I can be shown that it's not, I have no reason to say that it is. I mean, it's a pretty big candle. The volume isn't anything to write home about. It's not like huge. So I'm not really super worried about it on this scale. It is below the 20-hour moving average, which doesn't really mean much. But let's see here, 2-hour. Well, I'm having trouble where I found 128, but I usually look for a couple indicators to line up. Here we have one of the moving averages around there. That's probably something I looked at, and then I probably was looking at some past resistance, some past trend lines, and I came up with 128. I would like to see it break 128. It's not really super important how I got there. I am positive I did get there, and I looked at it again earlier today. So yeah, we would like to see that happen. And to the downside, the guy put in there, he said 114. I do see 114 as actually being kind of relevant. But I also said that like 5 days ago on Twitter for Optitoken. So, yeah. And that also being said, we did break it and we didn't slip lower. So, let's take it with a grain of salt. One thing is also clear. There are people who believe that Ethereum is undervalued when it gets into the lower hundreds. And they are coming and buying it up. Ethereum, I think, went as low as 105 the other day, and it bounced pretty hard. Look right here.
Oh, wow. That was what day? That was a couple days ago.
Yeah, on
the 20th. 4 days ago.
20th?
It looks like. Yeah.
The low was 107. This is Bitfinex. I might stop using Bitfinex, unfortunately. Although I like them better as an exchange. I think it's really, really cool. I'd like to believe that they did kind of get like stuff started with Tether in 2017, like pumping the price of Bitcoin. And I just think that's an awesome move, and I like to support them actually because of that. And I trust them. I don't care what other people think. But there's a premium, and unfortunately it can affect technicals. So I may have to switch to something like Bittrex or Bitstamp more. So this candle where we went down to 107, that's a great wick. It means it went down there and didn't stay down there too long. Buyers are coming in. They're like, no, that's cheap. I'm buying. I'm a buyer down here. So we do know that. We do know people are, let me show you another new indicator, one of my favorite new indicators too. I should be out already. The PVI, the Positive Volume Index, pretty awesome. I was told that the negative index is what the sharps use in the hedge funds and stuff. But I really looked over a lot of the negative volume indexes for Bitcoin and altcoins, and it wasn't really helpful for me. So I don't agree with that. I don't use it there. So I like the PVI. So a great thing, this is a very, very simple PVI indicator. Here it is right here. And what we have here is we have this positive volume index. And this above it is a moving average for it.
Okay.
It's an EMA for it, which is exponential.
Which it seems like it went down a little
I
bit.
wouldn't really overthink what both these mean. But what I will say, and this is something sort of, is that I have noticed that, and really, really so with Bitcoin. Actually, I don't even know if I've looked at it with Ethereum much. Is that below it, we are bearish. Above it, we are bullish. It is very, very cut and dry. There's no two ways about it. Look at this. Above it, bullish as fuck. Okay? You see this?
Yep.
Red is above the blue. Below it, bearish shit.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So I can probably look at that and from an investor standpoint, not like a day trader.
And look at whether or not they're going to cross again at some point, and then that would be foretelling as to whether or not it would go bullish potentially.
Absolutely. I can be a buyer above and a seller or not necessarily a seller, but I could just, at this point, it's kind of like wait for it to cross back above, maybe it's a buy. It's probably a safe bet. Now, we kind of also want to see it establish above it because there can be kind of these false, you get a false positive here. It did break above. Now, actually, if you had bought here, you still could have made a little bit of a profit up to here, but you would want to have gone out. You would want to send a stop loss or kind of resell what you bought, break even point. When you do make it up here, because it wasn't showing any strength. And if you'd bought here and then went back under, immediately sold, you would have just lost money. So, I think it's safe to say we kind of want to see it break above with a decent amount of strength. And it's really that simple. And that's a great indicator. I mean, you can sign up for TradingView. Now you have to, I believe, you can actually set alerts for free with email on the free account. But you can also do the upgrade one, and I think even the next level up is 19, maybe $10 or $20 a month. And if you're if you don't care about that much, if it's worth it to you, if you're not really stressing out about money per month, you'd rather have, you'd rather be a good trader or, be in the know for Bitcoin, then paying that, you can set up alerts where you can download the app and have it, ping your phone. So what I can do is I can set an alert for this indicator. And what I would do is I would go in here and I would look for the positive volume index and I would put PVA crossing positive PVA. EMA.
Oh, interesting. What's the EMA?
That stands for exponential moving average.
Got it.
And I wouldn't overthink it. I would just think of it as a moving average.
That's a great tip.
It's just the way it's calculated. It takes, it's a little more sensitive, basically. It takes a big move of recent more into account. It's exponential. So a lot of people prefer these to just a simple moving average. That being said, we don't really care what kind of moving averages it is if it's giving us signals and good ones. And so all you really got to know is the blue line. We want to be above it. Ethereum, Bitcoin, both it seems to be quite relevant.
Well, I mean, the good news, it seems like that it's been at the same position since 2009, since the beginning of the month. So for 24 days. If you zoom out, it's been around the same position for a few days.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it's
stagnant.
necessarily good because I'd like it to be above, right?
No, of course, but that should be encouraging.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's encouraging. It is what it is, but it means if we're holding ETH, I have a little bit of ETH. I have a few. I don't have that much right now. I'm just kind of at this point, I'm just kind of like, I'm waiting for. I'm not gonna like. I'm just waiting, man. I'm waiting to get either a cheaper price or I'm waiting for stuff like it for it to go back over and clear it. And I'm okay if I miss out on some money. At this point, I'm okay because it's just bearish as hell. I'd rather buy some stocks right now. Even to be honest, I'd rather play puts and calls in the S&P.
But then, would you go back in at some point or no?
Oh, absolutely. I'm super long on crypto, and like I said, I like Ethereum, love Bitcoin.
That's interesting that you would do that. I mean, so what about individuals? I mean, a lot of us, I've been holding Ethereum forever, and I think I'm just going to hold it for a while.
My hat's off to you, man. That causes a lot of anxiety. I'm also a day trader too, so
yeah.
Needless to say, I've been out of Ethereum for quite a while. Now, I wish I had sold some a little bit earlier. That's my only regret. I wish I sold a lot more, like when it was at 1,300 or 1,000. I did, I sold a few at a time here and there, and basically spent all the money on traveling. I have a little bit of savings, but I would have had a lot more. I sold some Ether at like 200 around there, so so that might have been a loss. I don't even know. I was buying because if I get a buy signal at 400, on the way up, I was buying when I buy signals, I'm buying. So but depending on what accounting method I use.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first got into the crypto game, it was before we experienced the crazy bullish market of 2017, at the end of 2017. Well, in any case, a lot of individuals I was interviewing were really heavy on the altcoins, which makes sense because those were the ones that were getting you the most profit. And I remember along the way I met a couple Bitcoin maximalists. And now I get it because I realized that these guys had been in the crypto game for a while, and so they knew that it was something was bound to happen, essentially.
I think the people who had the best, even using, the thing is the RSIs are a great tool, but you have to be careful of them because they can break down. Now, so I'll mention again what that is. I already had that. Okay. The RSI is the relative strength index.
Where is it? Can you show us?
I don't even have it open.
Oh.
I can open it though. Let me get rid of some of these. Two of these open now. Yeah, you can do stuff like that. I heard people were using a lot of volume stuff as well to volume indicators are really great. I love volume indicators. What they're probably looking at stuff even just as basic as when we pushed up to 20,000, 21,000 Bitcoin, what the volume looked like at that point. And probably what was happening is that we would get, we were getting some higher highs, but then the volume on a push to maintain or hold was decreasing a lot. And then probably sell volume was picking up when we started retracing down some. So we'll look at RSI. And we've talked about this before, so we won't go really into super depth about it. But the RSIs can break down, man. And so I can't just say, hey, I'm a buyer at 30 over 30 is oversold, 70 is overbought. Okay, that's basically what the argument is. So and yes, a lot of times they do hold very relevant. If you're a buyer right here, you make some money. And not to say, and actually, had you bought here at oversold, you wouldn't have done this. Actually, I take that back. So yeah, so you would be the loss here because the price was freaking in the 6,000s, 5,000s. If you look at my screen,
that's Bitcoin. Yeah,
we're looking at Bitcoin now. I don't know why, but we are. And it ain't recovered to there, but the RSI has. So you can't really trade on this RSI low. When they go down this low, they just break down and kind of stops working.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just kind of because you have so much momentum in the sells or the buys that that yeah. Ooh, my battery's running low. Let me try to plug it in. I'm going to plug in my computer really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
So, but that being said, you know what you do when that happens is you want to go and look at a bigger chart, and that will help too. Mm-hmm. But still, it's just, you don't really want to trade on those alone.
Yeah.
It's like kind of common.
So
it's like 101.
Sean, to kind of recap, like what's going on this week, what are some of the things you've been looking at overall as we're wrapping up the week? And some of the things you're hoping for?
Nothing. I would like finally a recovery, man. I would like, the price has just been like shitty for long.
I've been hearing
the upside.
that
I just think it's good for everybody.
I've been hearing February, which is in a couple weeks or in a week and a half. I've been hearing that we should start seeing at least upward movements.
I have no idea. I don't have anything. I don't have anything that says, like, everything I've looked at that I can use for big time for the most part is stuff I've spoke to with you, and I don't see anything about February, but I don't see anything not about February. So, yeah, I can't really. I'm not really great at predicting the time frame. I can kind of use stuff from the past to look at like time cycles, but for the most part, I don't really full on like think that there's just some I don't know, stuff like that. Like I don't know if time's always going to be the same. Stuff in the past to see
anyways,
long something's lasted.
I guess what I'm gathering from all the discussions we've had together, and again, because I'm still fresh into this world, I don't have a trading background, is that predictions in the long term are really hard to make. Essentially, it's just more like a gut feeling, right? And different things that you might read on the news or whatever. And I know that you don't even use that. But at the end of the day, for someone like you, you're more like a day trader where essentially you're looking at the charts and able to make predictions like on a short-term basis and then being able to make your plays like based on those short-term predictions. Right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that like the more I'm learning about trading through you is that essentially you're better off looking at day-to-day trades versus, because predicting things for the future are impossible. It's just like, essentially it's just like a gut feeling, or trying to, it's just not feasible.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all like
it's like throwing a dart without knowing where it's going to head.
But I showed you the two tools that I did use to look at like March or April, and I would say that's more realistic as March or April. So, and it's probably more conservative to go with farther out, 1 of April. But I can tell you this, is I will be looking at, mostly probably on the day chart, as it doesn't tell me anything on the week chart. It's PVI. I will be looking for that on the day chart. And when I see that cross back over, then you'll see me say that, it's probably time for a reversal. Real quickly, so look, if we bought the 30 here, sold, that would have actually been a decent play.
Where is that? December 10th?
So now we're on the RSIs, but now it's for the week chart. So it's bigger. It's a bigger time frame. They're looking at a week and a whole week. They're aggregating weeks and looking at that to come up with the figures. So, but what if I only bought oversold in a week and sold overbought on the chart, or on the RSIs? Well, I probably want to do awful because I would have bought back here at like $200, whatever, and I would have sold up here at only like 500. And then look, I wouldn't have been able to buy again until just now, and the price is at 3,300. So because it doesn't just take price into consideration, it also takes time and other things into consideration. So yeah, that's my less smaller side. They can be very indicative, very helpful, but they have to be used in couple with other stuff.
This is cool.
Yeah. If my computer dies, I'm sorry. You can find a plug over here near me. So
no, it's okay. I mean, I think we're good as far as wrapping up. Let me split screen. Yeah. So thank you guys. Yeah, no worries. Thank you guys for tuning in. And what was I gonna say? So make sure to check us out every week, every Thursday. We're going to be doing this chart analysis. And if you guys have any questions as well, make sure to add them in the comment section so we can cover it the following week. Make sure if you haven't already to give us a like on YouTube to help our channel get discovered. Please, please, please. Comments as well. And
helps so much.
Yes, help us grow. We really appreciate it. Get the word out because Sean doesn't BS. He gives straight up advice on how to read your charts, so make sure to give him a thumbs up. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Luna. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Fun. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.